direct confirmation from the cash. Appeal. Cash in hand balance set the direct confirmation call color. Cash in hand balance set the direct confirmation on the bank. Then go down again. Compare again. What you can do? You can do physical cash count. You don't want to do the cash count, you can observe the cash flow. That should be done by the manager. Right? And whatever the other balances with like banks or whatever the short-term investments, you can call confirmation. Right? Audits. Once you're calling confirmation, you have to state that open confirmation. Open confirmation. You don't want to mention the bank balance and send it to the bank and confirm that balance. No need to say that. You are sending a kind of a lengthy confirmation request. Whatever the accounts there in this company and borrowing, pledge asset, all the things should be confirmed. So then once you are sending that, whatever the relevant accounts of this company will be confirmed. Otherwise, they are confirming one balance. So then companies are playing around cash, right? Cash is the area they can do frauds. Why? So then whatever the benefit they want to get illegally, they have to get it out from cash. Other than whatever the other benefit, so the cash is the area they can do, they can play around the cash balance by using off balance sheet books or reconciliations, or balance sheet items in the reconciliation. They can do different things to receive the financial statement. So then as auditor, you should pay special attention on the cash balance. The way you are doing procedures should have kind of a skepticism on the cash. Or cash balance is audit going to have anything balance. And then there is all that balance. Right? Call direct confirmation. I will show that the way we are calling confirmation, the way we are getting reply. I'll show that. And then checking bank reconciliation. Bank reconciliation. Bank reconciliation. Simple, right? Grade 2 again. Control account is going to bank reconciliation. Peaceful login bank rate. By we are doing that, we have cash book and the bank statement balance. Hypothetically, that should be tallied. By tallying then that there may be two different reasons. So the reason matters from the bank and matters from the company. Simple, right? That's called adjusting the cash. Bank errors may be there, or deposit not realized may be there, issued but not presented may be there. Then those things can't be corrected. We can identify and we can keep that as a reconciling item. In the reconciliation, those three items should be there. So other than that, if there are anything, those are unusual. You should question and you should clear that. Right. I've sent a bank reconciliation to you all. You can go through that and identify what are the issues relating to that. Any observation? I have sent that to the group, so then go through that and identify there are some unusual areas. As auditor, if you are auditor, so then how can critically evaluate that reconciliation and identify the group I sent. Identify any unusual areas. So people learning virtually, any comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What are the observations you have? Unrealized thing. They have deposited, not realized. Then more than 3 months. So normally, once you are depositing something within 2-3 days time, so those things should be justified. Another thing is other countries, we don't have reconciliation type of thing. We are having reconciliation, we don't have reconciling items. At the year end, these total balances are tallying because on the system itself, they are updating all those things. There can't be any deviation. So then tallying the bank statement to the cash book may be very easy task. But here, with the system issues and delays, all those things, clearance process getting delayed. But that delay should be very practical, as correctly said. The check realization taking maximum 3 days. If you are having holiday, it will take 3 days. Otherwise, within 1 day, 2 days time, it will realize. So then, if we are having this kind of things, we need to clarify. So then, have we deposited that money actually, right? Or they have telling they have deposited, but they have deposited to their personal property. That may be the concern area. Other than that, what else?
Expenses.
Yes. Salary expenses. Normally we can't, as a reconciling item, right? I think is by using current account, we are not paying salaries normally. That's very unusual. Normally we do like a fund transfer, and if we are issuing that, can't be issued but not presented. It may be a kind of a issued check, not presented to the particular party. Then the cash charges should be adjusted to the cash book. Correct. 100% issued, 100% check. So the issued but not presented checks. It means issued but not presented. They have issued. So who is the person is getting a check, not getting cash out from the bank. So whatever the wealthy person, based on these numbers, they have to change it to the cash, right? So then it is very unusual to have issued by 1% checks, no outstanding checks. There may be checks. they have issued, but still those checks may be in the company drawer. Then we need to check whether exactly we have hand over this check to particular supplier or party. So then if they are not hand over that, we need to recognize the liability in the books, right? To reduce the liability, to understand the liability, what they can do, they can issue some checks, keep that in the drawer. Simple. Those may be the reason. We will check that as well. Others, I don't know. The other entry also unusual. Maybe error. Yes. Then provision balance. This here anything? And consideration. So then the date is also very different, and the parties have not signed the approval sign off status, and deposit not realized check. Check numbers are very unusual, right? And then if you are going through these narrations, same party having checks in the same way, different check numbers. Is that a concern? Can't they pay by using one check, same way, same party? That's very doubtful. They can misuse their authority limits. They may have authority limit for, they can't exceed this like a payment, right? What they are doing, they are splitting, they are, allocating, they are reducing the balance by splitting the transaction. They split the transaction into like 3 transactions and process the payment. So then that's a kind of a design effectiveness of the cash payment controls. The control may be you can't pay as a CFO, you can't do payments more than this amount. So then that definition should be corrected. So as a CFO, you can't pay this much of amount within a day for single person. Not the transaction, specify the person. And if it is so, they can't split the transaction and do the checks. So then we are having 1.5 million limit. If we are having 6 million transactions, we split that to 4 into the transaction. So that's the issue relating to that's a kind of we can call that as an override of control. We have a control, tactically we override the control. So that may be issue. You can ask that question as well. And so then arithmetical accuracy. Once you are getting these numbers, so then the bank reconciliation we have a total number, and once you are calculating, the number is different. There's a value based under the total. Yeah. Can be the formula. You can't see the formula here. So the unpresented checks total 6.197. It's a 6.297 is the amount value pasted. The total, once you are getting the total of these items, it says 6.1. So then you have to ensure the arithmetical accuracy of the reconciliation. People can hide transaction by value pasting in the reconciliation. You have to ensure the arithmetical accuracy. Right? So those are the concerns. Once you are auditing this simple thing, you may have different perspectives. It's a very simple task, right? Going through this set of a reconciliation. Once you are having, let's say, 50, 70 reconciliation in organization, you may take more time to audit that, right? Different ranges, different scenarios. You may have thousands of questions. As auditor, you have to use your skepticism and ask questions and clarify those things. And then only you can check. Then only you can get the confirmation, right? You are having a balance. You are having a balance. Bank statement balance. Bank statement balance. And then reconciliation item. Reconciliation item. Plus, minus. Finally, you have cash to balance. Or else you may have cash to balance. You can get the bank statement balance, whatever the method, right? So the logic is cash to balance appears in the financial statement. Financial statement. So in this financial statement, you are supposed to do the audit opinion. To issue the audit opinion, you have to ensure the financial statement. It means this balance should be ensured. To ensure this balance, this reconciling item should be validated. You have to satisfy with the reconciling item. Then only you can satisfy with this balance. Right? Then only you can satisfy with this balance. Satisfy with this balance. Right? Then you get full confirmation for this balance. After getting confirmation, direct confirmation for this balance, bank statement balance, you are happy about this balance. But it's not appearing in the cash book. Reconciling items are there. To satisfy with the reconciling item, you can arrive with this balance. Then you can happy with that balance. And then you can happy with the audit opinion. Right? So that's the thought process. Once you are calling confirmation, confirmation received for the bank statement balance, right? To bank statement balance to the year-end cash balance, having reconciling items. You have to verify that, and after verification only, you can satisfy the cash balance. To do that, have proper understanding about the reconciling items. Reconciling item is the area people can play around. So the reconciling item of balance sheet. Right? If you want to keep a liability of balance sheet, you can keep it in your reconciliation. Very easy. Then of that reconciliation you are comfortable around. But reconciliation there may be some other scenarios like deposit, unidentified deposit. Unidentified deposit, what it means to you? Unidentified deposit. What is there? Unidentified deposit. Unidentified deposit. And we get a credit card. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ලක්ෂ 10ක් වැටුණා. දුබායි. දන්නේ නැහැ. නේද? පන්ති කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. account එකේ තියෙනවා නේද? බෑන්ක් එකකට කෝල් කරලා අහනවා. අර කොලම් එකේ ඉඩමදිලු බෑන්ක් එකේ. අවදාවත් දැරිලා නැහැ. පන්දනේ කියලා. What I'm going to do? I'll keep it that as a reconciling item. No, I'm going to take it to the books. Already credited to our account. As a liability for the bank, we have credited. Are we going to debit to our cash please? Only that no gamma cash is identify කරගන්න ඕනද? අනුන්ගේ සල්ලි ආගෙට දන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ආපු ගමන් කෑෂ් ඉදිරියට දාගන්නද නැද්ද? හා? දාගන්න ඕනද නැද්ද? කොහෙද දාන්නේ? අනිත් කරගන්න ටික කාලයක් ගියෝ ඉයරෙට එකක් රිකග්නයිස් කරගන්න ඕනේ. That debit කරගන්නවා. That as a liability item, it means you're going to credit a liability, you're going to into the cash. Cash debit, credit to separate liability. That's the way are we keeping that in reconciling item plus here. මාර ප්‍රශ්න. දැන් ප්‍රශ්න දෙන්නේ අපිට ඇසෙට් එක සුදුලට. අපේ ඇසෙට් එකට නැද්ද ඒ සල්ලි? මේ හම්බෙච්ච කෑෂ් එක අපේ ඇසෙට් එකකට නැද්ද? නැද්ද? ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් කියන්නේ. as per case 1, can we recognize that as asset? Asset is a resource we are controlling now with the effect on past activity and we are having huge economic benefit. We can control that asset, not the ownership, but the control. Can we control that cash? After putting into my account and you don't know the account එකට වැටුණා නම් බෑන්ක් එකට ඔතොරිටි නැහැ account එකෙන් යනවා මගේ ඔතොරිටි මොනවද yes අපේ බෑන්ක් එක OD තිබුණා නම් ඒ ලක්ෂ 10 වෙනවා පොසිටිව් වෙනවා නේද පොසිටිව් වෙනවා දැන් අපිට චෙක් ඉෂුව කරන්න කොහොමද බැලන්ස් එකේ අපි චෙක් ඉෂුව කරන බෑන්ක් එක ඉවරනවද yes they are paying we are using that cash the controlling power of that asset with us so then clearly we can recognize that as an asset, right? Asset debit, credit to unidentified deposit account is a temporary liability. Once you are identifying, till you are identifying it, you can keep as a liability. So after identifying, what you have to do? If it is a erroneous transaction, what save current one? And then what? So then you have to regular cash. So then those type of things are there under reconciliation. Reconciliation should be approved, and some of the instances reconciliation can be generated from the system. Some instance we may have kind of a check returns. Should have ability to identify all those stuff, and the accuracy of the reconciliation should be ensured. Then only you can get the confirmation and tally with the reconciled balance. So then after that, you can have that good comfort about the recorded balance under cash and cash equivalent in the balance sheet. Right? So that's about reconciliation. Our reconciliation can optional here. Some other items there or practical issues there on partner note here. Logically here. Then here back. Anything may happen in the finance team. So then you have to be very straightforward with financial reporting terms. That asset, yes, we don't want the ownership. We just want the control. Then we can recognize that as cash to the company. That's it. Audit company that's the language you have to use once you are dealing with accounting, right? You are the kind of a translator of accounting standards to the common audience. Translator means English to English. No. Accounting language to other language. That's your role. Otherwise, you can't be kind of a person who are referring the standard. Standard says like this, that's what I'm doing. So therefore that, as I previously said, we don't want your role. You should be a kind of a translator, good translator about counting. Okay, right. So then we can go forward. Internal again, internal loan, right? Again, or by short break cut here. 15 minutes right. Come back soon. So the people joining virtually, you can have your tea break and come back within 15 minutes, right? Regulated. Yes. Regulated is there. Otherwise, we have to be the no, the balance should be 80 million. 90 million. Regulator we should not regulate the government. Out of 93 years, we do kind of analysis. part by part, we will recognize the company was making company on translate. Taking company. Delegation ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. ඒකයි කන්ට්‍රෝල් එක. නැත්නම් අපි කියන්නේ ඒකට සමහර දෙයක්. දැන් අපි ඔඩිට් විෂයව ස්ට්‍රික්ට්ලි කියනවා. අපි මාස 3ක් තියාගෙන. මාස 3ක් තියාගෙන ප්‍රැක්ටිස් පර්පස් කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ බලලා ක්ලියර් කරනකම් කියලා මාස 3ක් කියලා තමයි අන්අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයිඩ් පොසිෂන්. එයාම කිව්වා එක විනාඩියක්වත් තියාගන්න බෑ. දාවන ක්‍රෑෂ් හතරකින්. ඒක ලොකු රිස්ක් එකක්. දුරන්නේ අපිට අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් කරගන්න. අරෝ දෙනවා. Probability again assess කරනවා. ඒක මොකද financial asset එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. refundable deposit කියන එක කරොත් ඒක එතෙන්දී අපි මේක කරන්නේ මොනවා damage එකක් වුණොත් අපි cash දෙන්න ඕනේ. cash නොදුන්නොත් විතරයි අපි මේක කරන්නේ. නැත්නම් financial asset එක. ඒක clearly මේක කරගන්න. Cash count. When reconciliation done, right? Can do cash count. The way we are doing cash count depends on the cash we have, the cash in hand, right? So the most of the cases, of the companies, they are not keeping cash physically in the organization, right? Very rare they are keeping cash as physical cash. Whether they are doing physical cash transaction, they may have. They are having cash receipt like a bank or insurance company or retail company, like a supermarket. They are dealing with cash. So at that position, at the year end, and the management side, they should do the cash count. What we can do is, we can observe the cash count. Observe the cash count, right? So if it is a bank, what we can do is, we can have a sample and observe the cash count. Right? Once you are doing cash count, definitely you need to do physical cash or different cash elements are there. A bank එක තියෙනවා මේ damage cash කියන පුළුවන්. Damage වෙච්ච වෙලාවට තියෙනවා. ඊපස්සේ මේ cash not used cash. ඒකට කියනවා made cash කියන. සල්ලි මිටි තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. අලුත්ම සල්ලි මිටි. ඒවත් අපිට count කරන්න. ඊපස්සේ sometimes we may have coins, right? Coins, large bulbs. We are having significant amount of coin. So then it's really difficult to count, right? So then what we can do is, we can get the weightage. Get the weightage for same coins and we can count it. So if we know that 10 rupee coin for 2000 coins, it may be 3 kilos. Likewise, we can, based on the weightage, we can count. Salli kirala thamai count karana. Ema wenna puluwan, right? So based on the scenario. And make count එක අපි මේ වෙන එක කරොත් දේවාලයක කරොත් කොහොමද? නේද? දේවාලයක ඔඩිට් එකක් කරන්න සෙට් වෙනවා. ඒකට කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එක කරන්න ගිහිල්ලා ඔයාලට 750 කියලා නේද කවුන්ට් කරන්න. ඒකට කොහොමද කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එක කරන්නේ? දෙලා ඒක සෙපරේට් කරන්න තමයි. ඔය සෙපරේට් කරලා කිලෝ ගණන් වලින් තමයි කරන්න වෙන්නේ. That's very difficult to do the cash count. Then cash count should be planned properly, and whatever the cash count result, we cross-check with the general ledger balance. Another thing is cash in check in hand. Check in hand balance also we consider as cash in hand, right? So the number of checks received is still with the company, not deposited to the account. Those were considered as cash in hand. Check in hand balance. Right? The cash count එක කොහොමද ලේසියෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන්? bank එකේ කියලා cash count එකක් කරනවනම් කරනවා. salary ගාවට ගිහිල්ලා cash locker එකේ cash ටිකක් අරගෙන ගණන් කරන්නේ නැතුව අපි envelope එකකින් දාලා seal කරනවා. ගණන් කරන්නේ නැතුව cash set එකක් අරගෙන locker එකේ envelope එකකින් දාලා seal කරනවා. ඒක අපි කියන්න පුළුවන් ගණන් කරන්නේ නැතුව envelope එකට cash ටිකක් දාන්න ඒක seal කරලා තියන්න අපි sign කරලා එනවා. ඊට පස්සේ day end එකේ එයා tally කරලා එයා දන්නන්නේ කොච්චර cash එකක් ගන්නවද කියලා. tally කරලා physical cash එකක් නැති tally කරලා difference එකක් identify කරනවා. ඒ difference එක අර envelope එකේ තියෙන cash ටික tally වුණා නම් අපි ඒක විතර count කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපි envelope එකට දාපු ටික විතරයි count කරන්නේ. that's tallying is that difference. So then we are satisfied with the tax count. That these type of techniques can be used for tax count. So those are practical aspects of auditing. ඒක අපි commonly කරන දෙයක්. audit කරනවා. Sometimes you may have foreign currency. If it is a bank or other institution or hotels, sometimes you may have dollars or foreign currency, right? If you are having foreign currency, what you have to do? You have to do the cash valuation, right? Cash valuation. So the value cash, what's the exchange rate you have to get? Buying rate or selling rate? If you convert that cash to percentage of currency, what's the rate you have to use? Buying currency or selling rate or buying rate? Buying rate. You have to use buying rate. Buying rate and selling rate is the line. Selling rate is obviously buy කරනවට වඩා වැඩි දෙයක් විකුණනවා විකුණන්න. Buying rate එක කියලා ගන්නේ අපිට asset තියෙනවා නම් අපිට cash දෙනවා නම් අපි දෙනකොට banks buy කරනවා. ඒක buying rate එක ගන්නවා. Selling rate එක ගන්නවා නම් අපි liability value කරනවා. Liability අපිට foreign currency liability එකක් තියෙනවා නම් we have to pay in dollars. To pay in dollars we have to get currency. So then from their side is a selling rate. So then for liabilities we should use selling rate. Asset like cash we have to use buying rate. Accordingly, you can check with your e-bank selling buying rate. Accordingly, you can value the cash. Right? And then cut-off testing. Cash cut-off is really important. Cash cut-off means cash every period is the record karada. Whatever the cash receipt for 2023 should be recognized as cash for that year. So the cash receipt for 2023 can't be recognized for 2024. So that is a completeness will be ensured through the cut-off testing. So 31st December midnight එක වෙනකම්ම cash receipt කරනවා. Midnight වෙනකම්ම cash receipt කරනවා නම් need to be careful which point you are going to recognize cash. So Pizza Hut delivery කරන company එකක් නම් දැන් $7 midnight එකකට deliver කරනවා නේ. deliver කරලා cash හම්බ වෙන්නේ කොතනද? deliver කරන point එකේ. සමහර cash අතට the physical handout to point එකේදී තමයි හම්බෙන්නේ. So if it is low, what we have to do? That cash we recognize to the balance sheet as a asset, right? So then cash cut-off testing should be addressed for two different aspects, cash receipt and the payment side. So all the cash receipt should be recorded for exact period, all the cash payment should be recorded for exact period. So then what we have to do is, we need to get the cash receipt list and identify the sequence, cash receipt sequence, and do the sample test. Do sample test and verify the cutoff testing and disclosure requirement. So then we are discussing here. We covered from here to here. Discussing disclosure requirement. So there is it's a financial asset, and we have separate disclosure requirements. And further, LKS 7 cash flow statement clearly defined cash and equivalent. So then accordingly we need to decide disclosures. Any restricted cash should be disclosed. Standard clearly saying that less than 3 months short-term investment we can consider that as cash. Less than 3 months. That's the given guideline. One guideline that can be changed, right? So district guideline. So according to the standard, less than 3 months short-term investment can be recognized as cash. So if it is saving account, it's cash. Demand deposit, cash. Treasury bill less than 3 months, cash. Commercial papers less than 3 months, repo, those are cash. Those can be identified as cash. Less than 3 months means, let's say we have a fixed deposit. Fixed deposit 1 million. 1 million fixed deposit getting mature 31st Jan. 31st Jan 2024. 31st Jan 2024. This will be getting matured. This was a 3-year treasury bond. 3-year treasury bond getting matured 31st Jan 2024. I'm asking 31st December 2023, is this a cash item? Because after 1 month time, it will get matured. As at the reporting date, 31st December 2023, is that a cash? It has a 5-year maturity period. 5-year period already completed. Almost 4 years and 11 months completed. 4 years and 11 months completed. Next month, in 31st January 2024, getting matured. I'm asking 31st December 2023, is that a cash and cash equivalent item? No. Yes or no? Certainly, 3-year maturity period investment, we consider that as a cash. What's the treatment? That cash or cash flow. When asking the contractual right to that. We cannot convert that into convert. Within 1 month, you can get that way cash with the receipt, right? Already as FD. It's already recognized. Already recognized. The contractual is terms for 5 years, right? Already recognized that as the investment. So then that 3 months period should be counted at the first date of investment, right? Not the remaining maturity. That is very clear, right? Not the remaining maturity. Then that FD can't be recognized as a cash. Accordingly, you have to make a disclosure if there are any pledged assets. Restricted cash. What is restricted cash? Some of the cash balances are there, like saving accounts. We can't get cash out. Some of the loans we are getting, before we are getting a loan, we have to open a saving account. We have to keep 20,000 in that account. Restricted cash. That should be disclosed under cash flow statement. There are balances like restricted cash, a separate item to be disclosed. So then cash flow related separate disclosures are there. You can go through the standard and get experience on that. If there is kind of a foreign currency conversion gain or loss, that can be different. It's not a cash transaction. That should be separately disclosed, right? So the investment activities and different activities should be disclosed. So then, if there are any pledged cash balances, you need to disclose. Or foreign currency conversion rates, you can disclose. Likewise, you are supposed to do required disclosures as well. In case 7. Right? So basically, that's about cash and cash equivalent. So we were discussing about reconciliation and then cash count we discussed. So not there. Actually, once you are doing cash count, what you are doing is management can do cash count. You can observe, right? The way you are doing cash count may be differs with the company nature. The manufacturing company will do bank and insurance company and Jewale or something like that. Totally different the way we are counting cash. Right? Wow, cash count කරන විදිය වෙනස් වෙනවා. අර ගොඩාක් cash දෙන්න පුළුවන් bank එකේ. ඔකයි. කොහොමද cash count කරන්නේ? අපිට weight cash කියලා දෙනවා. weight cash කියලා කියන්නේ cash දෙනවා sequence order එක map කරලා මොන හරි හොරකමක් වුණොත් හොයන්න පුළුවන් මේ cash. ඒ කියන්නේ bank එකේ safe එක තියලා තියෙනවා. sequence order එකේ minimum තියෙන ඒක record කරලා තියෙනවා. cash. හොරකමක් වුණොත් ඒ cash එක හොරාගෙන යනවද? ඒක ටික තරහ යන තමයි කියන්නේ. අරන් තියනවා ඒ සීක්වන්ස් එකේ කැච් මාර්ගයෙන් සංකාර පිට කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක තමයි කියලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක කියන්නේ. ඒකේ දීලා තියෙන අලුත් කැච් බන්ඩල්. කැච් බන්ඩල් දීලා තියෙන කැච් බන්ඩල් ට්‍රැක් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. يعني අපේ සීක්වන්ස් ඕඩර් එක අපි නෝට් කරන් තියෙන්නේ. මේ සීක්වන්ස් ඕඩර් එකේ ඒ කැච් බන්ඩල් එක අපි කොලවන්නේ. කියලා තියෙන කන්ට්‍රෝල් පර්ස්පෙක්ටිව්. මොකද වෙන්නේ? පොරේ කැවිලා ගත්තොත් කැෂ් බන්ඩලුත් අරගෙන තමයි යන්නේ. ඒක ආපහු කැෂ් බන්ඩල් ගන්න යන්නේ. කැෂ් බන්ඩල් ගත්ත ගමන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? බැංක් එකේම ට්‍රැක් කරනවා. ඊළඟ ගිහිල්ලා බැංක් එකට දාපු ගමන් ට්‍රැක් කරන්න පුළුවන් කොහෙද මේ කැෂ් එන්නේ කියලා. ඒක තමයි කියන්නේ weight cash කියලා. Sometimes you may have damaged cash. All those things will be counted, right? But then දේවාලයක වගේ කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එකක් කරන්න දෙන්න. කියලා කාස් දෙකේ කාස් කවුන්ට් කරනකොට නේද? තවලෙන් තමයි කවුන්ට් කරන්නේ. කොහොමද? කියලා කවුන්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. සෙපරේට්ලි. ඒතකොට කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එක ගන්න විදිය වෙනස් කියන එක තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. ඒක ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් සිනාරියෝ ගොඩක් කතා කරනවා. දැන් ඉදි ගැටේකින් අහගන්න. ඒකට කිව්වා එක් එක කරන්න රිවිව් කරන්න කියලා. අපි කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් කරනකොට ගිහින් ගම ලෝකයේදී පොඩක් ඉන්නගෙන කෑෂ් ටිකක් අරගෙන දානවා ඉන්ලොප් එකට. ගණන් කරන්නේ නැතුව කෑෂ් සෙට් එක අරගෙන දානවා ඉන්ලොප්. ඉන්ලොප් එක දාලා ස්ටෑම්ප් කරලා සයින් කරලා යනවා. මේක ඇවිල්ලා යා ටැලි කරනවා සිස්ටම් එකට සිස්ටම් කෑෂ් කවුන්ට්. ගැප් එකක් එනවා. එතකොට ඉන්ලොප් එකේ තියෙන ගැප් එක එනවා. එතකොට එන ගැප් එකේ ඉන්ලොප් එකේ තියෙන ටිකට ටැලි කරනවා නම් කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් එක తీරම කෑෂ් කවුන්ට් කරන්න ඕනේ නේද? රාන්ගල විතරයි. දැන් දැනට මේක ඇතුලේ කීයක් තියෙන කියන්නේ. තියෙන කෑෂ් එක කවුන්ට් කරලා තියෙනවා. කවුන්ට් කරලා ගැප් එක අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරනවා. ගැප් එක අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙන කෑෂ් හරියට කවුන්ට් කරලා නැත්නම් ගැප් එකට ටැලි වෙන්නේ. So then you identify the gap, that gap, and whatever the cash in your envelope, you be tallying that gap. It is all as expected the cash count. Then those type of techniques can be used, right? And then another thing is for cash cutoff, you have to ensure the cash receipt and payment cutoff both, right? And then we discuss about how we are going to do cash cutoff. And then foreign currency. You are having foreign currency, you have to use the buying rate for conversion, not the selling rate, because it's asset, right? So the selling rate can be used for liability valuation, right? You have to use the buying rate. So those are the things we discussed. Accordingly, you can confirm the cash and cash equivalent balance. I hope you are comfortable now. So then this area can be tested in the exam. So then you have to be very familiar with the approach, POC, and the alternative procedure. Right. We are going to payables and accruals. Payables and accruals. Asset part done. We discussed current asset and intangible assets, then receivable, inventory, cash and cash equivalent. Got comfortable with now about the procedure, nature, and accounting standard requirement, disclosures, all those things discussed, right? We are moving to.
Excuse me, sir. We did not discuss the lease assets, no? IFRS 16.
Lease asset.
IFRS 16.
IFRS 16, right of use asset. Yeah, we can discuss. We can discuss whatever the asset we can discuss. Biological asset, is an insurance company, reinsurance receivables, insurance receivables. So then, according to the company nature, you may have different set of assets. Different set of assets, right? So then, as auditor, discussing like a general company. General company, what are the assets we have? What's the procedures you can perform? So that if you have a right of use asset, according to SLFR 16, you have to recognize the asset in the books, not like previous standard, not like a case 17, right? Please. So then as per case 17, we had two types of leasing arrangement. What are they? finance lease and the finance lease and the operating lease. So then we should know how we can classify finance lease and the operating lease. So then previously finance lease asset we recognize, the liability also recognized. Asset and the liability. The finance lease, end of the lease terms, whatever the item will be received to that party, right? Finance lease चलो आने अंदर तब lease term के उन्ना वो वहाँ पे देखो नहीं समझे. What I did, then you recognize the asset and the liability. That's called finance lease. And previously, operating lease was not accounted. So we recognize that as a rent expense. If we are getting a premises for whatever the asset related to lease, say by 16, we recognize the rent expense. What is the rent expense? Rent expense recognized as uncommon. Rent expense recognized as uncommon. How are we going to recognize rent expense? Cash credit, debit to rent expense. That's it. Well, bank for the Buddha branches here. Leasing company is a Buddha branches here. Insurance company is a Buddha branches. If you are having set of branches, Targils, Apico, Keels, different locations, have we purchased these locations and we have for those? No. Those are rented out places, right? So we are having rent agreement and we are paying and over monthly rent expense. Previously, what we have done is recognize cash credit, debit to rent expense. That was the treatment we did for operating lease. But under SLFRS 16, there was a requirement to recognize the right of use consent came in because of SLFRS. But the right of use asset. Aling tangan pintu dari branches serum, api itu ada jalan. Aling balance sheet dengan paling mudah api. Books la building dekat නැත්නම් building dekat building property එකක් නැත්නම් මේ company තියෙන asset එක නෑ books වල. මොකද අපිට rent expense එකක් විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. එහෙමනම් අපි හිතා ගන්නවා මේ company එකට building නැහැ. ආ rent එකට තමයි operation එක කරන්නේ කියන්නේ. property plant එක equipment එක. ඒ කියන්නේ fixed asset එකක් නැහැ. It's a bit concerned, right? Without having fixed permanent place, how we can continue this operation? Let's say it's a kind of a very unique business. Yeah, we need to have a proper place for that. Like, let's say, we are selling some, the unique item for kind of a, let's say you have kind of a area to do some boat activities. Boat activities කරන safety jacket හරි මොනවා හරි විකුණනවා place එකක්. Yeah. Place එකට වඩා rent එකක් හරියට agreement එකක්. You don't have a place to sell that, it's very difficult to control your clientele. Because you can't sell it out in different places. You should have a proper place, you have a proper right, proper location to establish a business for long period. That is the concept we have. Right? If there's a company, now physically operate means we should have a place. So with these all those aspects, after considering all those aspects, we have kind of a concept called right of use asset. Right of use asset. So then previously, whatever the right we had, we didn't recognize asset. අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපි rent එකට ගන්න building එක up for 5 years. What are you going to do? You are going to recognize that building as an asset in our good. ඒ කියන්නේ අනුන්ගේ building එකක් rent එකට ගත්තත් අපිට asset එක ඉස්සර ගන්න පුළුවන් දැන්. ඔත්වාගේ එකේ අනුන්ගේ building එකක් ගන්නවා අපේ balance sheet එකට දාගන්න. දැන් එනවා පුළුවන්. අපි දාගන්න asset එක. ඒක කියන right of use asset. ये right එක අපි asset එකක් විදිහට දාගන්න. ठीक है? Okay ද ඔයාලා? standard එකේ හිමයි කියන්නේ මම එහෙම කරනවා. that is the accountant කියන්නේ. කොහොමද ආවද කියන්නේ justify කරන්නේ? Okay ද? ඒ asset එක නෑ. අත්දැක 5 year lease period location එක අත්දැක දාගත්ත balance sheet එකට asset. අර සම්පූර්ණ cash සම්පූර්ණව උත්තර දාගත්තා වගේ නේ. ඒ වගේම තමයි ඒ logic එකම තමයි. You to recognize the asset, do you want the ownership? You want the control. Right to control the asset. Use me. Right to use asset means right to control the asset. Right to future benefit of that asset. One land එක හරි premises එක හරි අල්ලගත්තට පස්සේ වාට මේ landlord ඇවිල්ලා කියනවා දොවා මෙතන මේ පැත්තේ වාහනේ හරවන්න. මෙතන පෝස්ටර් එකක් ගහන්න එපා. මෙතන මේක ගහන්න. එහෙම කියනවද? first floor එකේ මේ වා නිදාගන්න එපා. වැඳ floor එකේ නිදාගන්න. එහෙම කියනවද? After having that premises for 5 years, all control with you. So then that control right is an asset to you. That right should be capitalized in your balance sheet. That is called right to use asset. Is that an asset? Yes, it's an asset. That right is an asset because after having this right, we don't need to go here and there searching premises, right? We can have a demand. We can have iconic place to do the business. It's asset to the company. It's creating profit to the organization. It's generating cash to the organization. It is the right to use asset that should be recognized as the asset in the books. What's the value you are going to recognize? Total liquidated value is 500. Then we have a question. What is the value we are going to disclose in the books? How we are going to value the right? So that we have kind of we can think how we can value that right. We have for that right we have already paid kind of a monthly rental, right? We need to give a value to that now. So then what we are going to do is this monthly rentals for 5 years, we can calculate that and we can present value. Right? That value is a value we are going to pay for this right. That is the asset we need to establish in our books as a operating lease asset, right of use asset. That asset can be depreciated according to the lifetime. Lifetime will be 5 years. So the building original useful lifetime may be 45 years, but for us, 5 years may be right of use asset. That will be depreciated based on 5 year lifespan. That is called right of use asset, right? So then, if you have right of use asset on your balance sheet, what you have to do? You have to read your agreements and you to identify these terms, and the critical aspect is the IPR, incremental borrowing rate. So then once you are evaluating your cash flows, you have to present value. You have present value. Once you are doing the present valuation, you have to use a discount factor. And that discount factor you have to use is the IBR, incremental borrowing rate. If you are increasing your borrowing, what is the band you can go? And what's the interest rate you have to get? So then that interest rate should be used for your present value calculation. And by valuing present value, you are going to put the double entry. What is that double entry? Right of use asset, debit, credit to this liability. That value should be debited to right of use asset and this liability. Right of use asset should be depreciated and charged to the P&L. This liability, you are paying the installment. Once you are paying the installment, what's the double entry? Cash credit, this liability, debit. Then we cash credit and this liability debit hotel. This liability account again, how do value make up? For the present value, for the future rentals, the present value is liability. And I will take around here. Take around exact rent take a pay. Exact rent take a pay. Once you are paying your exact rental, the value in the right of use asset liability account, lease liability account is lesser than the way you are paying, the amount you are paying. That gap should be recognized as a lease interest. I think you are getting what I am telling. So then, how are we going to audit this? The matter.
Then improvements should be the capital expenditure. Right of use account.
Improvements for right of use account.
Any order
So then, setting up a kind of a structure, temporary let's say, supermarkets. So then there is some kind of this development. That's directly PPND. PPND depreciate for that period. PPND. Based on the nature of the expense. If it is a revenue nature within 1 year period you are utilizing, it's a repair or something like that, day-to-day operation. Other than that, if you are doing for some expense, it's the economic benefit for these terms, it's another PPN in the asset. Right? So then lease development. Road take up development करना cement building handala अरे glass में मतलब कुछ गाल क्या करता other road take up other ground development that can be capitalized as a lease asset that can be capitalized. Related to IFRS 16, that may be different scenarios. Then COVID-19 is a 16 update. But the COVID-19 tribunal COVID tribunal period so that we COVID right of use as a recognized last next 5 years asset recognized then COVID asset use so the lease terms and the changes are these rental adu rental normal digest change then normal so then these asset 60,000 per month. Like out the social area I 60,000 done for me make a 50,000 1 year. There are changes in the lease terms. How we are going to treat that is all about IFRS 15. Then as auditor, we need to read through that agreements and ensure the completeness of the right of use asset and check the calculation and check the IBR, incremental borrowing rate, and check the disclosure. So those are the steps you have to follow. I hope you are clear.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But here some more procedures I can give. Right? I can give a list of procedures with example and issues, different scenarios. So then all those can be discussed if we have time, a lot of time needed. So, but here what we are going to focus is basic treatments and procedures. Right. We are confirming insurance contract liability. We need to discuss about audit procedures, how we can ensure insurance contract liability. Why we are going to do that? What is the standard requirement? And insurance contract liability consists with UPR and OL, outstanding loss reserve and then IBNR, third part of reported claim. How we are going to verify that? As auditor. Can be discussed, but that may be super advanced auditing. Right? So the same logic can be applied. So then you need to know the standard requirement and whatever the base information should be tested or based on POC or both client control approach. That is the basic understanding you should. Right? Okay. Cool. Going back to tables and accruals. Tables and accruals, which is consistent with what? Trade payables, creditors, other accruals. Right? Trade payables, creditors, we can say that financial liability. It's a liability to, it's an obligation to pay cash out for financial liability. If it is accrual or provision, it's not a financial liability. Right? It's an estimate. So then here we have both components. Another thing is trade creditor, straightforward, that depends on the company nature. As I said previously, other liabilities, other payables, they consist with different payable balances. Then again, it's another recycle thing, like other assets. As I'm discussing other assets, I told you that other liability also same. Whatever the unreconciled things, control account, and different payable balances will pass into the other liability. Tax payable and the insurance payable and fixed asset payable balances or whatever the balance related to kind of a transaction, payable balances will pass under other liability. Right? So then accruals and provisions may be estimates, right? Electricity accrual and other utility accruals. We should recognize that as a payable balance. That's the calculation basically. And other than that, for trade payable is a continuous process. And better to use reliable control approach if you are dealing with a manufacturing company. You can use reliable control approach because always you are dealing with suppliers. So then here you have trade payable and other payable. Other payables contain related party payable, different other payables. See, related party payable considering different amount, right? Once you are coming to the procedures, basically for trade payables, you are dealing with purchases, inventory purchases, payment control, liability recording process, cash settlement process related control should be tested. Basically, trade creditors relate to purchases. And once you are doing credit purchase, trade creditors getting increased. So then related controls in the trade credit purchases definitely will increase this balance. Because of credit purchases, we are having this trade creditor. Keep in mind. So then related controls, once you are doing this purchases, three-way matching, and credit purchases related controls should be evaluated after trade creditor. The control testing, right? And other than that, cash payment related controls. So a trade creditor increase when decrease when simple to cash payments decrease, credit purchases increase. So the controls related to both aspects should be tested to verify to ensure the reliable control approach. So that depends on the company you are dealing with. If it is a manufacturing company, many purchases are there. If it is a kind of a food city or Apico, Hills, likewise, you are having daily purchases. Right? So then, whether you are doing credit purchase, you have to treat like that. Whether you are having agreements and what are the terms and conditions, have you paid that, what you are paying, if there are any limits, approvals, all those things can be tested. Right? Other thing is, you should have a creditor listing. List of creditors should be there. That is called like, we should have a vendor list. We should have a process to vendor screening process. Vendor screening process means but මොකද කරන්න ඕන වෙන්න කෙනෙක් ඕඩර් කෙනකින් අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්ද හොඳ කම්පැනියක් විදියට ගන්න බෑ හොඳ කම්පැනියක් විදියට ඕනම වෙන්න කෙනකින් ගන්න බෑ මොකද කරන්න ඕන වෙන්න ස්ක්‍රීනින් කළා හරිම වෙන්න කෙනකින් ඉස්සර අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් කියන්නේ වෙන්න ස්ක්‍රීනින් වල බලනවා මේ කම්පැනි ඉල්ලීගල් කම්පැනි එක දැන් මනි ලොන්ඩරින් කරනවා Era lo බලලා කියන කාර ටෙස්ටිං කියන කාර ටෙස්ට් කියලා කියන්නේ කම්පැනි යූස් කරනවා ඒ ටෙස්ට් එක කරාම පොලිටිකල් එක්ස්පෝස් පර්සන් කෙනෙක් ඒකත් මෙයා මොන වගේ ටයිප් කෙනෙක්ද කියලා වෙනවා අපි ටෙස්ට් එකකට ගිහිල්ලා නමක් ගහන්න. ආගම ගහන්න. එතකොට මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ කියලා ගහන්න. මොකද පෙන්නන්නේ? අපුකල්ල පෙන්නන්නේ. දැන් ගහන්න බලන්නේ. අපුකල්ල ට්‍රාන්සැක්ෂන් කරන්න එපා කියලා කියන්නේ. පොලිටිකල් එක්ස්පෝස් එහෙම පර්සන් කෙනෙක් කියලා පෙන්නනවා. පිළිවෙල බලන්න. So the vendor screening and vendor register කරනකොට prohibited vendor කෙනෙක්. හැබැයි අනිවිතම කියලා සර්ච් කරාම පෙට් කෙනෙක් පෙන්නනවා. පෙට් කියන්නේ කවුද? පෙට් කෙනෙක් කියන්නේ පෙට් කෙනෙක් නෙවෙයි. Political exposed person. පෙට් කියන්නේ. The qualified person පෙන්නනවා පෙට් කෙනෙක් කියන්නේ. හැබැයි can do transaction on credit. So mom can manage the handling the father here. So then he's kind of a gentleman, right? So that's the way he has done. The people can do transaction with him, but the other way around, so then that's how that global system recognizes. So those are global systems, not local systems. So likewise, we are having different systems to register vendors, and we need to get the business registration, and we need to do kind of a Google search. Once you're doing Google search, if there are any paper article or related news, you can see whether you are going to register this vendor or not. Before you are doing a payment to someone, you have to do that vendor screening process. You should have a proper vendor list. Right? So the once you are getting vendors, you have to do proper quotation. What director के आलुए, CFO के आलुए के vendor करते हैं. सब में supply कराने देना. यहाँ की quality के बारे में देखते हैं. अगर price के बारे में देखते हैं. Because of the relationship we are giving the vendor. So that's not fair to the organization, right? You should have a proper tendering process to register a vendor. So then all those things part of the purchasing. Then again, creditors, right? Keep in mind. So then we will ensure control relating to purchases and cash payment. And we are coming to the substandard procedure. So whatever the control result should be adjusted to the operating effectiveness result adjusted to the BSS CRA, and that will be adjusted to the substandard procedure. And have the number already passed. Then you are going to do substandard procedures. As I said previously, once I am doing receivables, you can call confirmation that here a liability balance. Then again, the items you have not received the confirmation, you can do subsequent settlements. You can check subsequent settlements, right? So then receivables also you check subsequent settlement. Creditor also you are going to check subsequent settlement. Now you are checking whether you are going to pay it or not. Cash outflow, right? Debtor receivables we check cash inflow. Subsequent settlement by the debtor. The cash received. Here, cash payment. After the balance set up, balance sheet date again. Subsequently, pay the balance, right? That's a simple logic. Subsequent settlement. And then taking sample of invoices. Yes. We can select a sample and check the invoices. Those invoices should be not paid at the year-end date. And then the unrecorded liability test. The critical step you have to perform. Unrecorded liability test. You can say that URL. Unrecorded liability test. Unrecorded liability test. That can be an area to be tested related to this. How you are going to perform a unrecorded liability test. So there is a risk of what? Understated liabilities. So then management find understated liabilities. So there may be unrecorded liabilities in the books. Unrecorded liabilities. How we are going to check that? Is there any unrecorded liability in the organization? What are the testing? What are the procedures you have to perform to evaluate unrecorded liability? Examiner. In other words, I can ask as audit manager how you are going to plan your unrecorded liability testing. In other words, as audit manager, your junior may ask to perform unrecorded liability testing. How you are going to advise people, right? Really important. How are you going to do this? Unrecorded liability testing. Firstly, what you have to do is to identify what are the critical payments accounts in your organization. Critical payment account, critical bank account, related bank statements, right? What are the key bank accounts you do payments? Right? identify critical bank accounts, identify operational bank accounts, in other words. Secondly, you have to get all the cash payments after the year-end date. After the year-end date, 31st December, for the subsequent period, you are ended with the financial year December. For Jan, April, May, Jan, February, March, you are getting cash book. You are getting subsequent period cash book. And focus about subsequent period cash book, cash payments. You are studying subsequent period cash payments. Simple. You are getting list of cash payments subsequent to the period. Subsequent period maybe 3 months. The way you are planning your audit, right? So then, according to the maturity levels, select a sample or go through the transaction and check this transaction whether it is relevant for subsequent period or previous period. You have a list of payments, you have to check that these payments are relevant for the subsequent period or the previous period. You have to select based on the maturity level. Let's say you are getting all the payments for subsequent 3 months, and according to the maturity levels, our TE, tolerable error may be 2 million. So then from the TE, let's say 50%, 1 million. More than 1 million payments we are going through. More than 1 million payments are there. Let's say 20 payments are there, more than 1 million. From these 20 million, the 20 payments, 5 payments related to previous year. Previous year we have already taken the service. And then, if you have already taken the service, these are relevant for previous year. At the year end, we should have a liability. The liability should be recorded to the year end. If they have not recorded that, it is a unrecorded liability. Right? So accordingly, you can put down your steps. First one, what? You have to identify operational account, get the cash payment, decide the maturity level, select a sample, and check transaction whether this was done subsequent period or the previous period and previous period. And whatever the identified previous period sample item should be recognized as a liability at the reporting date. That is called unreported liability testing. Through this, you are comfortable with the liability recognition of the company. Right? I hope you are clear. Liability testing company, right? So the basic understanding is the same. The way you are doing may be different. That based on your case study. So the case study is normally in the hand. High complex bank කොහොමද කරන්නේ කියලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි general understanding එක තමයි check කරන්නේ. ඒකට මොකද දෙපා වඩ. basic understanding එක නැත්නම් ඒක So then I'm going to test the basic understanding what we are discussing here and just apply. If you are really doing your auditing journey, if you are doing real audits, practical aspect may be challenged, but the same logic, right? There's no difference. Logic-wise, no difference, but the practically how they are doing is maybe very different. Okay. So then that's about unreported liability testing. Then again, cutoff testing. This cutoff testing may cover the purchase cutoff, credit purchase cutoff, not cash purchase cutoff, right? whether we have recorded whatever the creditor relevant for that period. Right? That's very important. Cut-off testing. And for that, all the credit purchases should be evaluated and credit purchase sequence order should be taken and check whether we have recognized that for this period or not. And next year credit purchase should be recorded for the next year. Right? And cash payments related to creditor. We need to check that. So then that ensure the exact, complete set of trade payments. Right? And related disclosures. This trade creditor is the financial liability. Financial liability related disclosures should be there. If there are any maturity profiles, all those things, and then any terms and conditions, critical commitments, all those things should be disclosed. Right? So that's all about trade payables and accruals. Straightforward. Accruals, I'm not going to give any procedure. That depends on the accrual you are going to do. So accordingly, you have to decide whether you are going to accrue for electricity, whether you are going to accrue for water or insurance payment, whatever the balance which you are going to accrue, there should be a proper basis. That basis should be justified as auditor. You have to ensure that basis. You have to ensure that basis. Some of that tools may be estimates. You have to estimate that. So then approval can be justified by using tax testing. So then you are accruing electricity expense. Right? Once you are completing your audit, you are electricity company will come right? Electricity will be there for last one. You can proceed with the approval and the actual bill. Right? If there is significant gap, you can revisit your approval amount. Because you are doing your accrual based on the previous 3-4 months, right? Last 3-4 months, we had the electricity expense this much. But that's for this October, November. Right? December month is a different month. We kind of a seasonal period and we had day and night shift. Then we used some more electricity, but we based on the previous 2 months average. So then we have accrued a less amount, but actually electricity will be significantly high amount. If it is so, you have to revisit your full balance. Simple. Like that, you have to decide your audit procedure. For matter, picking example example but what are the house? What is number they Manusek is that Manusek is make a check කරන්න මම මොකද්ද බලන්න ඕන කියලා. මම රික්වෙස්ට් කරනවා ඊට වඩා පොඩ්ඩක් ඇඩ්වාන්ස් වෙලා ඔයා ඔඩිට් කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඉඳලා පුළුවන්. මට ඔඩිට් පේමේ මනුස්සයෙක් විදිහට ඉඳලා බෑ. So I am not expecting to a kind of a conceptual mindset from a layman, right? I want a kind of answer as an auditor. So then think with advance. Now you know the procedure, approach, and We have discussed general audit procedures a lot. Now we have capacity to think more than that. Think step ahead and decide procedure and come up with a conclusion. That's a requirement. Use this skepticism. This you can do now. It's so, and we go to revenue. The long topic. Actually, from balance sheet side, we skip one. What's that? Non-current liabilities. We discuss current liabilities now. Non-current liabilities. Do we need to do anything? You may have loans or borrowings, right? But the procedure you are going to do. What's the approach you are going to do? You are going to do full substantial approach. Tactical. You may not have much loans and borrowings. You are having 3-4 borrowing facilities, and you can count down the installments. And we have the agreement. What you have to do as auditor? You can check with the agreement and check the application, check the approval for this borrowing facility, and check the payment. What else you are going to take? Take the governance. That's important. Governance, very important. What do you mean by governance? So then, basically, in a borrowing agreement, there are financial terms we need to comply with. So those are basic conditions. We have to comply with those governance, otherwise we need to accelerate the payment. Gratuity is another estimate. Gratuity, some other provisions, insurance contract liability. Yes, what you have to do? Then again is the calculation, right? That calculation should be tested, and sometimes, most of the cases, we are getting support, external support, valuable support. For that, what we have to do? We need to evaluate valuers, experience, and qualification, whether it is independent, is there any agreement, and data given to the valuer should be tested by the auditor. That raw data should be tested, and accordingly, we need to verify that. Whatever the assumption used, you can cross-check with the real data. So that those are the procedures we are going to do for the gratuity. Likewise, you may have some other balances, can ask, can discuss. And if you want to do see the kind of a gratuity calculation, how we are going to do audit procedures, I can share with you. Gratuity. Some of the companies, small companies, they use kind of internal calculation, right? So then the internal calculation can be tested by the auditor. Is that rational, right? Then logical to make that provision. So then, likewise, we may have different payable balances: tax payable, EPF payable, ETF payable, deferred tax payable. Deferred tax payable. How are we going to do that? So those are we focus on full substantive approach. If you are going in full substantive approach, we can decide on the procedures for borrowings, gratuity, EPF payable, ETF payable, and this type of deferred tax liability, tax liabilities, tax payable. So these are sometimes not EPF, ETF, other areas. One of transaction at the year end include the estimate. At the year end include the calculation. The payable balance will be come up with the provision calculation. Deferred tax calculation. What you have to do? You have to identify kind of the taxable temporal difference. Taxable temporal difference and calculate that and provide. Deferred tax. But that's interesting. I hope you know that the basic of deferred tax, right? Let us say on a deferred tax theory. So if there are kind of a calculation or treatment, you should identify is there a deferred tax impact, right? What else you need to know? The make a slide at Kerala procedure, in the improvement. So the one tower, part the basic data, do not the procedures in one Hitler here. They were Hitler unrecorded liability testing, right? Those things should be there once you're dealing with creditors, this aspect need to be checked. Right? Whatever the estimate you are dealing with, the calculation should be tested, whether you are going to get a support from outsider, right? So then we are moving to revenue, the critical balance. So after doing revenue plus expenses and other income, all P&L and the balance sheet completed. So now we are moving to the end of audit procedures, gathering audit evidence in the execution stage. So then after completing execution, our plan is what? Next day, we are completing P&L with 5-step model and all those stuff can discuss. And another day for audit reporting. Day may be enough, or we can cover other aspects as well. Just 2 days, right? Then remaining is audit quality, ethics, and some other related services that can be done within 1 day, right? And then remaining is digital audits. How can perform these audit steps within a virtual environment, digitalized environment? How we can perform these steps? What are the new technologies? Can be discussed in another day. I'm not taking a full day. So then, according to now itself, we can think within another 3 lectures, we are ending, right? Yet to complete another 3 lectures. Then we made antipathy. ඊළඟ lecture එකේ evidence ඉවරයි. ඊළඟ lecture එකේ the reporting plus ethics ඉවරයි. ඊළඟ lecture එකේ digital environment ඉවරයි. ඊළඟ lecture එකේ revision එකක් කරනවා. ඒක තමයි plan එක. මේ plan එකේ වායි ඉන්නත් අවටිද. That's my plan, right? Then now you are comfortable with most of the planning, discussions, control environment, all those aspects, audit execution. So then 80% of audit procedures we have discussed, right? We just need to discuss revenue, expenses related audit procedures and audit conclusion. How we are issuing audit opinion. That opinion aspect, we know the types of opinion, you know that qualified opinion, adverse opinion, and those things. Just to recall and other information, but emphasize the matter or other matter paragraph. That's it. And then that's it. Then very clear process. What the lecture can't be ignored. Right. That's my expectation. Revenue කතා කරන ඇති නේද? Big, lengthy, because I need to discuss all those revenue aspects and revenue recognition 5-step model. So then we discuss all those stuff in next lecture and let's try to complete. And hopefully we can complete all those areas within another 3-4 lectures. maximum 4 lectures. Within 3 lectures, you're done. Right? Right. People who are virtually joining for today, that's it. Hope you are getting what we are discussing here. So then if you are running with any difficulty, challenges, let me update. I will see how can we help you all. Hope that you are so, considering all those areas and you are studying. I know that you are a little bit busy and time zones are different, but end of the day, the matter is whether you are getting this input or not. You can use multiple resources. Here we have the slide deck and the video and different sources. You can refer whatever the other standards. And end of the day, the logic behind this auditing should be with you. That the requirements, hopefully, our lecture series may have a good help to you to understand the things and improve yourself. That's the expectation. Then we'll meet up with another lecture next week about revenue and related expenses and other income. Thank you.